You want to be in Cantonment, you want to be in the airport, you want to be in East Legon, forget about it. You ain't going to get anything like that. Some people like to shower like 10 times a day because of the heat. If you want to shower 10 times a day, just know that that comes with a cost, you know, for them to come and take your trash for the month. It was at this moment that I realized I have been ripped off. Wouldn't spend too much. We're talking maybe like 200 cities. And I think that's maybe even a high end. You know, they're going to be a bit cheaper than walking into a restaurant and sitting down and trying to, you know, eat like that where they give you napkins. You know, once you see napkin, you know it's going to cost you something. That's a way that local people will do it to cut their costs. You know, you get the tin milk, you add water to it. Pour it on the cereal. That's your game plan, forget about it. Hey guys, welcome back. All right, in today's video, I want us to really look at the cost of living and how that affects job opportunities here for us in the diaspora that want to come and move to Ghana. Welcome to part 2 of this video. Now, in this half of the video, I'm going to be breaking down the cost of living if you were to move to Ghana. I'm going to be giving you some comparisons between how much a local Ghanaian would pay and how much someone potentially moving from the diaspora to Ghana is likely looking at. Hope you enjoy the video. So that's potentially the kind of salary that you could expect here. So how do people live off that salary? Now, if you're looking at housing costs, I would say to rent a decent place in Ghana for a local person is obviously not looking to spend too much, right? The type of houses that local people live in is going to be a very different standard to what we would expect coming from the diaspora and trying to live here, right? So they may look for properties which are maybe 500 cities a month. 1,000 cities, maybe that's even like top end. Like that's a lot, 1,000 cities a month. That like a lot of local Ghanaians won't do that unless they have very, very well paying jobs. But if you're looking for like a decent apartment here, I would say you probably need maybe about 5,000 cities. A decent 3,000 to 5,000 bracket range, you could find something decent. Now, if you want to get something more affordable, you're going to have to go further out. You're going to have to maybe move towards Dodwa, Adenta. You might find some places, Medina, that side, going that kind of way. But if you want to be like central, like you want to be in Cantonment, you want to be in the airport, you want to be in East Legon, forget about it. You ain't going to get anything like that unless it's, you know, like it's kind of like in between the somewhere, you know what I'm saying? Like places that not everybody wants to go to, or it's inconvenient. That's the only way that places like that tend to work. You know, finding a good apartment, and I say apartment because if you're looking at a house, obviously your cost is going up. So most people tend to look for apartments when they come here. So if you're looking for like a really good apartment to rent, it's gonna take you a while. Like be prepared for that hunt. It's going to take you time to find what you want within the kind of spec that you want. They do exist, but your search time for it is going to be longer. You're not going to be able to open up one of these housing apps, because there are a few of them out there that are like Zoopla, you know, Up My Street, if you know what those kind of apps are. There are some of those that are trying to come up now, right? There's not that many like really great ones, but there are some. Like to find an apartment here, it's literally, you have to find good people who are into real estate that can say, okay, yes, I know these. These are people who are on the ground that maybe know developers or know people that have properties to rent that can point you in the right direction, right? So it's going to take you longer to look for those types of places. So for most, and again, even once you find an apartment, you have to understand the area that you're moving to. That's another thing. But anyway, I don't want to digress too much. So finding an apartment is going to be one thing. Now you have to look at your bills that are going to surround it. You're looking at electricity. Electricity is a hard one to kind of gauge because everybody's electricity usage is going to be different, right? But the main thing that's going to consume your electricity is going to be your AC. AC is just going to consume. We're all hot in Ghana. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we want to run the AC. If you're running your AC, I say that you could easily use 2,000 cities a month. I'm going to say like around 2,000 cities a month. Now, the reason that I'm not using myself and giving you prices because the way that my place is set up is a bit different. I try to be as hands off when it comes to bills as possible. And what I mean by that is like my house is predominantly run on solar. So I don't really have an electricity bill because I've deliberately done that way to cut my costs. Even when it comes to you know, having to have water heaters in the house. My water is run again by solar. So I made those initial purchases, but anyway, I'm going to a different point of the video. So yeah, it's been very difficult for me to compare myself, but from the people that I know that talk about these things, their average bill would be about 2,000 cedis on the high end. Some people that I know, I was speaking to somebody who is local Ghanaian, and you know, he was telling me that his bill for electricity is about 150. Even if he uses it a bit much, it's like 200 cedis a month. Okay, that's like $20 or something. So there are ways that you can sort of live a bit cheaply, a bit costly, if you know the right way to do it. Like, you're not going to run your AC like that. Do you know what I mean? All throughout the day. If you want to do that, expect your bill is going to be high. Now you have to think about water, depending on, you know, some people like to shower like 10 times a day because of the heat. If you want to shower 10 times a day, just know that that comes with a cost. Your water bill could be anything, 500 cedis, 1,000 cedis. You know, it's going to be like that. Again, that's the diasporan way of living. You could be looking at prices around that. If you're a local person, your water bill may come 100 cedis, 200 cedis. You know, you kind of keep it modest. The other thing I want to touch on is perhaps trash collection. Now, there are big trash collection companies like Zoomlion. Zoomlion is like a major player when it comes to collecting trash. And you'll see the Zoomlion trucks all over the place. They have a huge operation that happens. If you want to use someone like Zoomlion to take your trash, you're going to pay for that service. If you want to cut your costs, and a lot of people do, a lot of local people will not use Zoomlion because of the expense that it comes with, right? They will use a local trash collector. So these local trash collectors, they have one of these, I don't actually know what they're called. You know, these kind of like, that they ride the bike and then they have the carrier at the back. And they will put like plywood on the side of it. I'll see if I can get a picture of it. They'll put plywood on the side of it. And what they'll do is they'll literally go door to door. You pay them a monthly fee, whatever it is. And they'll come and they'll just take your trash like once a week. So for a service like that, you may pay anything between maybe 100, 200, 250 maybe. That's a little high end though, you know, for them to come and take your trash for the month. It was at this moment that I realized I have been ripped off. I started to do some research into how much Zoomlion costs a month, and I realized that my local trash person has been ripping me off. I am paying about 200 cedis a month. Zoomlion for my area cost 150 cedis a month. And that's how you get ripped off in Ghana. Welcome. Those are some of the ways that local people do it. Another way that local people do it, and it's not the right way, I don't advise it, is they burn their trash. That's what they do. Every now and again, they will start a fire and they will burn their trash. Obviously, that's not good for the environment. It's not good for your health. It's not good for many reasons, right? Plastics and all of that. But that's some of the ways that people will try to cut costs here. They'll just burn the trash because it's easier to get rid of anyway, rather than it being taken somewhere and being dumped. When it comes to shopping, groceries, now everybody's going to have their different, what they spend for groceries. I would say an average person, I'm probably going to do it by week because that might be easier. I would say probably in a week, a local person wouldn't spend too much. We're talking maybe like 200 cedis. And I think that's maybe even a high end. So local people know how to cut their costs. And I have to say this, when it comes to wanting to live like the locals, right, and how they really truly live, sometimes it's cheaper for them to buy food than to even cook. And the reason is because whoever cooks in bulk, right? Now, they don't have to think about gas. They don't have to think about the ingredients, the seasonings that they need, the certain things. So it might be cheaper for them to go and buy that 10 cedi, 15 cedi, 20 cedi meal and eat that. Some people will only eat once a day. And okay, I can get a whole something for 10 cedis. I can get a whole jollof rice. Maybe I'll get a piece of fish with it or whatever, right? 10 cedis. That is easier for them to live like that than to say, okay, now I'm going to go buy the rice. A bag of rice is how much? A bag of rice, if I'm really budgeting, I'll get some long grain rice. It can cost me like 100 cedis, 150 cedis for some of the more expensive brands. You could get a cheap brand for like around 100, for a 5 kg bag, right? About I saw a brand, it was like 90 cedis or something like that, depending on where you shop again, right? So that's what they'll do. But they may not even buy the 5 kg. They'll buy like this, like a smaller pack. But, you know, that's not cost efficient because, you know, smaller packs cost more than a bigger pack. So that's how they will live. They'll buy like small things and that's what they will make. But sometimes, like I said, it's cheaper to buy from someone who has cooked the food. Like in the morning, it'll be cheap to go get your breakfast, get your house cocoa, get your buff root. You know, house cocoa, you can buy the bag. It's like 4 or 5 cedis, right? They'll use that. That's breakfast. Maybe the buffro is like 2 cedis for a buffro. And that's what they have for breakfast. And that will hold there for some time. You know, they may snack and get little things on the way. So they might pick up, what's it called? I was going to try and say the word. I can't remember it off head. You know, like you can get these street foods that you can pick up that are going to be very cheap. Like you can get the tobways, you know, you can get the, hey, why is my mind going blank? What do you call it? The peanut thing. Why is it's escaped my mind? What's it called? The peanut thing. Incatia cake, right? You can get that. You know, people buy Incatia burger, which is like they're like nuts. These things are like 1 cedi, 2 cedis, whatever. Or the Burkina Faso yogurt. You know, they do things like that. It's just like yogurt. They put it in a bottle and it's got like, I want to say seeds. I don't know. I don't actually know what it is inside. Let me know in the comment section. I can't remember what it is. But it's like got seeds in it. And something like that can be very filling, you know. So there are ways that you can fill yourself up without having to spend a lot of money. And a lot of local people will do things like that. I was trying to remember the name of this food and it's irritating me. It's actually an Ewe food. I can't say it properly. If I say it, you guys are going to laugh at me. So I'm not going to say it. Agbele kakulu or something like that is called, right? So anyway, I'm not even gonna say it because you guys will laugh at me. You always want to come for me, so I won't give you an opportunity. But anyway, so they will eat these snacks, right, to hold them through the day after having this. So you think about it. So far for breakfast, we've bought our house cocoa and our bofro, right? So we spent like less than 10 cedis. Say we spent like 8 cedis. Now we've bought some Burkina Faso that might have been maybe, let's say 5 cedis. I'm not sure of the cost now. I haven't seen it for a while. Like, let's say 5 cedis. Like, you've already spent less than 20 cedis. Now, the evening, you might go get some rice somewhere. You might not even get rice. You might decide to go get kenke or something, kenke and fish or something. These things are not going to cost you a lot. So you keep your cost minimum. And that's someone eating 3 times a day. Some people don't eat 3 times a day. They don't eat like that. But you come in here, you know, we want to eat 3 times a day. And there's nothing wrong with eating 3 times a day. You should eat 3 times a day, right? It's going to cost you, especially if you're going out to certain restaurants to eat. You know, local people, when they eat, they go to chop bars. Chop bars are places where they're going to give you a plastic bowl and they're just going to give you your food. They're going to give you your wache, your rice and your red. They're going to give it to you like that. Do you know what I'm saying? You're going to sit down on the bench. You're going to eat your food. They'll bring the water. You wash your hands. You know, those kind of places. But if you don't want places like that, you're going to eat somewhere else. It's going to cost you more. It's the same food. It's just going to cost you more. And so you have to look at how they are doing it. If you want to live that kind of lifestyle, that's how they're able to budget what they have that works for them. You know, in the UK, there's certain places that you can find to go and eat for cheap, right? Some of these local stands that people cook at, you know, they're going to be a bit cheaper than walking into a restaurant and sitting down and trying to, you know, eat like that where they give you napkin. You know, once you see napkin, you know it's going to cost you something, right? So people, you know how to live your lifestyle when you're in the West. So even when I went to the States, right, the times I was hungry, I was like, listen, I need to go get something to eat. What are we going to do? So then he would take me to the Amish market and like, I didn't need much. I was like, you know what? I just want like, give me the fried chicken and give me the wedges. And that would fill me up. And how much was that? That would come at like $7 or something like that. Like it was cheaper for me to do that than to say, okay, you know what? Let's go eat in some restaurant. And now we're going to spend like, how much are we going to spend? For the 2 of us, we're going to spend like $50, you know, like on a budget, more than that, $60, more than that. I've been out with him, you know, he's paid the bill like $100. Like, I'm like, for what? I'm like, next time, let's go Amish market. You know, like, there are ways that you know how to handle yourself so you don't spend too much. It's the same way that Ghanaians are able to do it here. They know how to use their money so that they keep their costs down. And let's talk about transport, right? Transport, if you want to take A trotro, depending on how many trotros you need, maybe somewhere between 2 to 5 cities, you know, one way and then another way back, again, depending on how many you need. But if you'd rather take an Uber, you know already there's a premium. There was a time where you could get into an Uber, you could find a ride that was like 8 cities. Okay, but now Uber's like, what's the cheapest I've seen an Uber recently? Maybe like 28 cities. And that's like a short distance. Like that's kind of like going nowhere. Like there's like maybe like 5 to 10 minute ride. Like that's 28 cities. Now 28 cities is about like $3, less than that even, right? And that sounds like nothing. But for Ghana, once you understand the currency and how money works here, that's quite a lot of money. That's not what you want to be spending if you don't have to spend that. So if you're looking at Uber, that's going to be expensive. You know, people do local taxis where they do ride shares. You can even do ride shares with Uber these days, you know. Yeah, so ride shares is another way to cut your costs. But for me anyway, like with Uber, I don't see the benefit of doing ride shares, because ride shares, you might save like some 2 cities, 3 cities, 5 cities if you're lucky. Like I'm like, it's okay, I'll pay for it and just get in the car myself. So that's another way that they do it. So when you do like a local taxi rideshare here, what the taxi does is it will pull up somewhere and then it will have a sign and it will say drop in. And so you go in and then you wait for the car to be full up before they go, and then they will drop people at their destinations as they go if you're all in a similar kind of direction. But no, I mean, I've never done it before because I'm like, I don't have time. Like I can't. But that's me. Hey, you know how I am. So I'm not going to pretend to be someone I'm not. You know how I am. I can be very bougie about certain things. So I'm not doing drop-ins. But drop-ins is a way to do it. Nothing wrong with it. Now let's talk about doctors. Okay, if you have to visit a doctor, you're going to, first of all, you have to register with a doctor, right? That's a fee. I think the last time I registered with a doctor, the registration fee was, I think it was about 300 cedis. So you're looking at around 300 cedis for registration. And then if you see the doctor, you know, there's going to be another fee. Depends what it is. Might be 200. Depends, again, it depends on the kind of place that you want to go to. Right, so this is how the locals do it. Sometimes if they're sick, they will do their best to avoid going to see a doctor. So what they will do instead, they will go to the pharmacy, because some pharmacists can give you some insight. If you give them your symptoms, they can kind of gauge and say, okay, one of the things that they do here when you go to the pharmacy, they love to give you antibiotics, which is not great. I'm not a fan of antibiotics because I feel like you build up resistance. But I'm not a doctor, so don't follow me. But I'm just saying that's what they can do. They'll give you antibiotics, or they'll say it's malaria. And I'm not saying that they don't know what they're doing. That's just pretty much how it is. That's my personal experience, and I know it's an experience for many people that live here, right? You go to the pharmacy and you want to be treated that way so that you don't have to visit a doctor and pay those fees. That's kind of like how they're going to do. They're going to probably give you some type of antibiotics, give you malaria treatment. You know, it's pretty standard stuff. That's kind of how they'll do it. So that's a way that local people will do it to cut their costs. And I hate to say it, sometimes that's why people sometimes get more sick, because they ignore the symptoms and don't go for treatment when they should. I mean, if you don't have the money for something, you don't have the money for something. So there's nothing, you do the best with what you can, right? So yeah, so that's pretty much what it is. So yeah, so if you want to see a doctor regularly, dentist, you know, these things are going to cost you. Dentists can get pricey here. I know the dentist that I go to, depending on what I want, I've been to dentist before, I've had to pay $200. Sometimes it's not that expensive. It just depends what it is. I mean, I can't really give costs. It's difficult because it depends on what you're having done. You know, I'm saying I paid $200 because I had to, what was I having done? I was having a cap done, because when I was pregnant, you know, your teeth go funny, right? And so I always had a problem with a particular tooth anytime I was pregnant. And every time they would try to fix this tooth, and this is in the UK, by the way, they would chip away more and more and more, right? And then one day it just eventually broke. It became so hollow that I had to get a cap. And the cap cost me like $200. And that was probably about, I want to say like a year and a half ago. That's what that would cost. I wanted to get braces for my son. That was going to cost me $3,500, right? That was some time ago. It might have even gone up now. But I remember mentioning in a video and people were like, that's pretty much what it costs in the State as well. And even when you get braces, you know, you have to pay for the upkeep of that. That's going to be another cost. So there are certain things that are going to be costly. I can't remember. I don't think have I ever seen a local Ghanaian person with braces? I don't think I ever have. You know, there are certain things, if you don't have the money for, you try to avoid at all costs. That's just, we all do it, right? So I think those are pretty much most of the costs that you will experience here. I'm just going to quickly say this as well. Like drinking water, bottled water. If you buy bottled water, right, you can get a 15 pack, which is, what size is it? Like 500 ml. That might cost you like 15 cedis, maybe. How many is in a pack? Is it 24, I think, for like 15 cedis. If you buy the sachet waters, now sachet water is like a bag of water. I think there's one. Oh, I thought there was one hiding behind me. So it's like a bag of water, right? Those you can get, there's like 30 in a bag. I think a bag is like 8 cedis or something like that. There's 30 in a bag, and that's like 500 ml as well. So what I tend to do, my cost-cutting tips, is I buy sachet waters when I'm at home, right? It's a bag of water, sachet water. And I'll use those for the kids because, you know, kids, you know how they do. They'll drink a little bit, put it down. That's not mine. It wasn't mine. You know, we all suffer that, right? That's not mine. So I'm not doing that with bottled waters here. I'm like, there's no way. Like, we will get through, I mean, there's 5 of us. We will get through a whole thing within 2 days. You know, like, I'm not doing that. Or again, you can buy the big water tank jugs, you know, like you see in like offices, you can buy those. I can't remember how much they are now. Is it like 25 cedis to put it on the machine? That's another way that people can do it. But most local people will probably just use sachet bags. I tend to use sachet bags, you know. Yeah, that works for me, sachet bags. Just put them down somewhere. You go pick one until it's finished. So I buy them in bulk. I get a guy who brings them to me, delivers them to me. I buy them in bulk and I store them, and that's how I do it. And I occasionally keep bottled water here. That works for me. That's how I cut my costs when it comes to buying drinking water. Again, I already touched on it. Another thing that I do to cut my costs is I have solar. So solar was a huge investment at the beginning, but eventually it does pay off because then I don't have an electricity bill, you know. When it comes to running ACs, again, you can have solar panels that are for your ACs. So if you want to do it that way, that's going to cost you. But eventually it will pay off. But again, even when it comes to things like solar, you have to know how to upkeep it, because if not, you run out your battery, you kill your batteries, you end up having to buy new batteries. You know, there's things that could go wrong. You have to have the maintenance of these things. Okay, so you don't just buy them, forget about it, think, oh, I'm going to save money. It's not like that. There's a maintenance cost to them. But I would say solar is more beneficial than a generator where you constantly have to feed it fuel. Petrol here is expensive. That's one cost I didn't explain. Petrol here can get very expensive, and I would say it's comparable to the West, honestly speaking. Like, there is no difference in petrol. I guess it's petrol, right? It's fuel, so it costs you money. So if you're trying to run a generator and you have to buy fuel for it, it's going to cost you a pretty penny. That is going to take your budget right up. So for me, I prefer solar. I'll buy the panels, let the sun naturally charge it, and then that's what I use to run the house. So that's a great way to do it. Now, when it comes to shopping for me, how I cost cut is I tend to, I buy certain things in bulk. So when my dad was alive, right, he would go back to the UK like once a year, and I would order clothes, food items, cereal, stuff like I would bulk buy those things. Like, I'm preparing myself like I'm going to spend money. Like, I'll bulk buy those things. He would box it up for me and then have it shipped to Ghana for me. And that's what we would use. I used to do like tin tomatoes, sweet corn. I used to do all these things. Some of these things you can buy kind of readily available here in Ghana now for a similar kind of cost now, but back then they weren't as cost effective as they are right now. So I used to buy a lot of things like that, especially clothes. Like, I'm not buying clothes here in Ghana, like, as much as possible. So I would just buy from the UK and then bring it here, and that's how we would last. So I'd make sure that, okay, whatever I'm buying here has got to last me this amount of time, and that's what I'd do. And then when he goes again, I'd repeat and do it. But now, you know, he's gone, so I don't have that. I don't have that flexibility. Like, my partner's going to have to do that now. That's his responsibility now. But that's a great way to do it. So it's good if you can do things like that. If you have someone that can be shipping things in for you that you like, certain luxuries. So like, if you know you have kids and they like to have cereal, ship your cereals in, you know. Even milk can be expensive. I used to buy Alpro milk, the oat one, And that, the last time I bought it was like 65 cedis, right? That is like that's about $6. Now, when I used to buy it in the UK, like obviously sometimes they have offers, right? But averagely it'd be like £1.50, which if you equate that back to cedis, what is that? Like, I don't even know, was that 20 cedis, 25 cedis, something like that, like something crazy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the difference with certain things, it's worth shipping. So when I would ship that particular oat milk because it made sense for me. I'm just like, because I would do the shopping online so I don't inconvenience people, and then I would let them deliver it to the house, and then just my dad would box it up for me. So these are some of the things that you can do to cut your costs, because there are some things that are going to be expensive here and there's some things that is cheap here. Like fruit. You're going to buy fruit. Local fruit is not expensive, right? Especially if you're going to the market to get certain things. It's not going to do much damage to your pocket. So those things are worth investing in. But if you like your luxuries and things like that, then you have to look at finding other ways to get it, because you go to the certain shops here, it's going to be expensive. Like when I used to buy, I don't buy cereal for my kids anymore, because you know what, like they can finish a box of cereal in a day. Like there's 4 of them. Like I was like, there ain't no way. I'm not investing in this anymore. Like it's too much. It's too much on the pocket. So because when I used to buy cereals here, I would buy like, say, a box of cornflakes. I'm talking like 1 kg. It would cost me, I haven't bought it for a while, like maybe like 150 cedis. 150 cedis, that's like $10. And it would be done in a week. If that, like, and that's me being like, no, don't take too much. Like, do you know what I'm saying? It'll be done in a week. So if you know that you want stuff like that for your kids or whatever, you're better off just shipping it in, because it is going to cost you a pretty penny, because these things don't last. Not to even mention, you know, the milk that you're going to have to add to it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's expensive. You know, in Ghana, it's hard to get fresh milk. I think there are some places you probably can get it. I haven't seen it for a long time. Getting fresh milk is hard. You're going to have to get UHT. That's what most people will get. Or you get the tinned milk. You know, you get the tinned milk, you add water to it, pour it on the cereal. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are things, you have to you have to experiment with certain things and find out how it works. When you first move to Ghana, obviously, a lot of these things are going to be foreign to you. You're going to try to find your feet and try and find out what works for you. Until you do that, you know, you pretty much have to figure things out. But at some point, you'll figure out what works for you, what doesn't, what you're still going to buy while you're here, and what you're going to say, no, I'm not doing that anymore. You know, you're going to work those things out. So I used to buy these beef sausages, right? I love sausages. In America, they didn't have these sausages. I don't know why. You guys didn't really have it. Like, I was trying to explain to my partner the kind of sausages that I want. Like the ones that we have in the UK, you don't have them. Your sausages are more like hot dogs. Like, I don't like hot dogs. But, you know, like, it's more like that. They weren't sausages like what we have. And I don't eat pork. So I found a place here where I can get, like, beef sausages. But they're costly. Like, a pack, I think it actually goes by weight. So I would buy like 4 packs. I think a pack, that was back then, would be like 100 cedis for like 8 sausages or something like that. That's pretty expensive. Like, you know, sometimes when I say some of these things, like, it doesn't sound that expensive, but you have to remember, I have 4 kids plus me. So that's 5 of us. Like, 1 pack of sausages ain't gonna do nothing. Like I'd have to buy so many in bulk. It becomes expensive. When you are bulk buying things, because there's a lot of you, it becomes expensive. When it's one person, you know, like, your costs are much lower. Like, I can afford to buy a packet of sausages, you know what I mean? It's not gonna like break the bank because I know how I'm gonna eat it. You know what I mean? When you have kids, I want to eat, you know how kids are, they want snacks all the time. Like, I want this, I want that. You know, you have to work out. So another way that I used to save was I used to make certain things. Like, you want nuggets? Okay, well, I'm gonna buy chicken breast. I'm gonna coat it. I want to fry it, and there's your chicken nuggets. Like, that, you know what I'm saying? Like, different ways, and that's probably even more healthier. But so there are ways that you will try to do these things. You want chips? I'll go buy the potato. I'll cut them up. We'll fry them. There you go. Chicken and chips. That's what you got. Do you know what I'm saying? So there are ways that you try to navigate and make your life as comfortable as possible without having to break the bank. So I want you to really understand from this video how you can live cheaply and why there's really no point in you trying to get a job here, because it's not going to give you what you want. Like I said, there are some jobs that will give you a great salary, but they are very few and far between. And it's more about your network. That's why I said your biggest currency when you come to Ghana is going to be your network, the people that you know, the people can connect you to certain things. You know, so if you're coming here and you're trying to get a job, if that's your game plan, forget about it. Unless you have the grit to live like the local people where you don't mind going without certain things. Create what you want, the lifestyle that you want to live here. It's pretty much what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up the video there. Let me know what you think in the comments section. I'm trying to give you as much honesty as possible. I don't live a lavish lifestyle while I'm in Ghana because I save my money for the things that I like. So I like to live comfortably. So, you know, there are things that I will spend on. Like I said, I'm bougie in some respects. And so there are things that I will spend my money on. There's things I'm like, oh, hell no, I'm not doing that. But that's how I live. That works for me. So live accordingly. Live accordingly. So if you're coming here and you want to get a job, if you're looking for a local type job and you don't mind being paid 5,000 cedis, which is not bad, then you can make that work. If you have that job and it's generating 5,000 cedis, then that's great. But I would say don't rely on that job. Find something else as backup because here, as I said, nothing is stable. Anything can happen. You could lose your job tomorrow. And then what are you going to do? You're going to be in panic mode. So find some little hustle, something, hobby that you like to do and have that on the side that's going to generate you a little bit of money. You know, find your ba, as they say. Anyway, so that's the end of today's video. Let me know what you think in the comment section. I would love to hear about it. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Don't forget to also like, comment and share this video. Until next time, I am out. Let's go.